So it's 4 o'clock p.m. So we can launch panel 15 during this first online day of the 12th edition of the International Conference on International Studies, CESRAN 2025. So I'm happy to chair this panel. This is the third panel that I chaired during this conference, and it's my pleasure. And it's my pleasure and an honor to me to moderate this panel that will host 6 presentations. So far, it seems that we have all at least 5 out of 6 presenters who have joined us at the beginning of this panel. So this panels last from 4 o'clock until since 4 o'clock until 5:30 Lisbon time, that is GMT or Universal Time Coordinates +1. So it's a panel dedicated to politics, energy, and trade in power politics, and it follows the panel that I chaired last year. It's about politics, geopolitics. It was about geopolitics and energy. So we stay on the topic. We focus on this topic, and I think that it will be a very interesting panel. So I urge the presenters to try to do their best to contain their presentation within 10, maximum 12 minutes, I'd say. And at the end, we will have a Q&A time where we will take all the questions from the online audience, and also, of course, also the presenters, whether they have some interest, some curiosity. So some questions to pose to the colleagues, to the fellows of this panel. Of course, that they are welcome to deliver their questions. So now I give the floor to the first presenter, Dr. Christian Ploberger from CBIS, Rajamangala University of Technology, Tawan-Ok. And the presentation is titled "The Role of BRICS in Supporting Emerging Powers at the Global Level, Promises and Changes." So, Dr. Ploberger, the floor is yours. You can share your presentation.
Okay. Okay. My name is Ploberger. I'm Austrian, but I'm living and working in Thailand, Bangkok. Emerging power at the global level, promises and challenges. Let's start with an assessment. Wait a moment. Something in my screen. Anyway, oops. My screen is gone.
Don't worry, Christian.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah.
At first, is it okay? Can you see it? Yes. The first place is make assessment. We can observe a considerable transformation of BRICS from a financial market imagination to recognizable cooperation of emerging powers and developing countries. So there was already positive progress. I would argue inviting South Africa some years ago represents the first indication of structural change from a financial logic to a political logic, because based on the original financial logic, South Africa would not fit in. From a political logic, yes. So therefore, I argue there was a first change in the character of the BRICS. Basic for cooperation. What basic for cooperation can we identify? One is increasing the visibility of emerging and developing countries in global politics. Another one is increasing access to decision-making power within the global institutional setting. The next one is adjusting the international financial architecture. And respecting national sovereignty, upholding national sovereignty, and support for multipolar world order is another criteria for cooperation, which was there from the very beginning. However, there was some recent addition, like the three-pillar approach. This was done by the 2023 meetings in Johannesburg the second time. And this three-pillar focusing on political and security aspect, on the economic and financial aspect, and culture and people to be aspects for cooperation. Once again, moving beyond the original concept of a financial market imagination. But still, the critical question is, can BRICS as an organization deliver on the expectation its member has? So is BRICS able of fulfilling the task its member are expecting from it? Because after all, influencing global politics is linked with the ability to speak with one voice, the ability to manage internal contradiction. Because the argument I say is internal strength generates external recognition. If an organization can speak with one voice on the global level, it will be more listened to. We may remember the expansion of BRICS in 2023, a number of new members. However, looking from today, we have to recognize that there was some changes. The new government in Argentina made a U-turn, decided not to change, not to join BRICS. On the other hand, we also had another surprise. This year, Indonesia became a full member early this year. This was not expected back then. And in addition, we also have a number other countries who joined, but the BRICS as an organization is attractive from the countries of the South. Internal challenge and external visibility. As I mentioned before, strong internal cooperation enhance external visibility. BRICS is usually described as a loose cooperation of states or as an informal diplomatic group. So there's a lot of criticism to say, how function BRICS? For example, BRICS members are not coordinating their voting behavior. Can you hear me again?
Okay, now, yeah. Okay, you're back. Okay, go on, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Carry
Okay.
on.
And the connection was this, there was a problem. Okay. Coordinate the voting behavior of members in international organization, argument from far north, or unable to convey different foreign policy interests into a shared foreign policy agenda was another argument. So some weakness of BRICS to speak, to act as a strong organization. So therefore, institutional development could contribute to a stronger recognition of BRICS in global politics. Yet, the prospect of transforming BRICS into an international organization is rather slim and almost non-existing, I would say. So far, they would date us. Because we should remember, international organizations representing a collection of rules and organized practices. They also generating an institutional logic of predictability. For the time being, it's not happened within BRICS. There's also implication, because if an international organization developed, it limits the availability of choices for its members. So potential issue of overlapping with national interests of different members. And as BRICS states, BRICS is there to support the interests of its members. So that's another challenge, because if the interests of its members are different, how BRICS as an organization will act. So enhancing internal coordination could enhance the impact of BRICS as a cooperation. But there's another issue, another related issue. What is its basic goals? So what want BRICS and what want the BRICS member? Do they want to have a change within or of the international system? This makes a difference. So let's take a look to it. Change within or of the international system. For sure, when we look to the BRICS statement, to the annual statement, there's a strong criticism of the existing global institutional setting. There's a demand for adjustment and inclusivity, so that emerging countries will get the place on the table. But there's also a strong commitment in the leadership annual statement and World Health Organization. So there's a clear commitment to them. So indicating this together indicates a demand for change within instead of the existing global institutional setting, I would argue. Therefore, it would be misleading to describe BRICS as a source of revisionism. I mean, Roberts makes an argument, BRICS countries contest the West's pretension to permanent stewardship of the existing system, institutional setting, but they do not demand a systemic change. Stunkel also goes along this line, pointing out emerging countries aim to institutionalize their position, not challenging the norm of the liberal order, pointing out that the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the BRICS-led New Development Bank strengthen the Global South position, but within the existing global institutional setting. So once again, change within and not of the existing global system. But when we think of global system, we also have to think what change we have to expect, because there is an anticipation that the actual international system, what we have now, it's changing. But the question is, to what kind is changing? Do we see just another constellation of polarity, another constellation of uni, bi, or multipolarity, or something different? So are we in the midst of another structural change at the system level, like in the aftermath of the Second World War or with the end of the Cold War? There are different opinion and consideration. Let's have a short look to alternative concept. One of these alternative concepts is multiplex. The emphasis is to say multiplex system is based on experience of multiple processes of modernity. Its character will be interdependent. No single power or idea will dominate. It will be plural. Interaction capacity will be critical in such an international system. Another concept is polycentric, built on three categories of state: first order state, who have influence beyond the region; second order states, who basically have influence within the region; and third order powers, who only have influence on the neighbor. In a particular region, based on geographic proximity, will also be very influential in the policy concept of system. Or another one, a third concept, multi-order, which is composed of cluster of states with different cultural and historical background, generates a set of different norms which underlies the international system. So this is different to polarity. That's another concept. However, we should remember, and interestingly enough, historical is to be the norm. So are we really in the change of something else, or does historical experience still have a stronger impact? But because based on this kind of change of the international system, the requirement of an organization to operate within it will be different. So that's another open question of the future impact of the BRICS, if we accept that we're in the midst of a system change. So, and as a final position, as a final slide, BRICS has a provisional outlook. So for the time being, there's an institutional weakness an internal challenge which undermines BRICS' ability to speak with one voice, therefore weaken its position. It's made some good progress when we look from where it came from an institutional perspective, when considering its origin as a financial fantasy of an investment manager. Because remember, when the first time there was a talk about BRICS, not single political leader had any interest on it. This came out of financial sector. Indication of institutional development, it's managed to establish regular leadership meetings with leadership statements provided. Things implementing is another one. We may also look to the ASEAN as an example for that. However, on the other hand, there's an ever-increasing area of cooperation among its members. Examples like supporting agriculture development, establishing a digital economy working group, Center for Industrial Competence.
Please go to conclusion, Dr. Ploberger. If you can, because we have already used 12 minutes of your time. I think that Dr. Ploberger has some problems with his connection. That is very bad, actually, it looks like. So, but he was out of time anyway, so he should have gone to conclusion. So, okay. So, you know, IT issues happen sometimes. So now we pass to the following the second presenter, with Dr. Andrew K P Leung from Andrew Leung International Consultants, an expert on this topic. And Dr. Leung will present a paper titled How the Fractured Global Order Could Be Better Managed Through Reform of the UN Security Council. I am very eager to listen to your presentation, Dr. Leung, because this is a tricky issue, because there's a huge debate about, since many, many years, maybe decades, about the reform of the UN Security Council, and so far no reform came into power. So I'm curious to learn to listen your presentation. So Dr. Leung, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Well, in the light of the limited time, I'll rush through some of the slides and concentrate on the meat of my presentation. Okay, so I will just rush this bit because I think that everybody knows that the world now is in disarray, characterized by the passing of the so-called post-World War II American unipolar moment, defined by the a disastrous war over Iraq and also Afghanistan, spending huge sums of money, blood and treasure, with very little showing for it, but also disrupting the order even further. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Ploberger.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, okay. Now,
where is? I don't know what's happened on my side. Okay.
It happens. But now, Dr. Leung started his presentation. You also were out of time, so okay. So you know it's tricky. I mean, so I suggest please stay in line. Stay in line, and you will have the possibility of adding something after the last presentation during the Q&A time. So thank you. I'm sorry for your problems, but it happens when you hold a hybrid conference. So, but now Dr. Leung is presenting.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
At the end, sorry. So please, Dr. Leung, go on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your understanding. So there's characterized by the disastrous war over Afghanistan, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and also the weakening leadership over the war in Ukraine. And of course, with the rise of China, this balancing and confronting Americans' coercion and hegemony. You can also see that when Trump 2.0, when he resumes occupation of the White House, the first thing he did is signaling his intention to tear up the world order by wanting to occupy Greenland, making Canada the 51st state, renaming the Gulf of Mexico, and also withdrawing from the Paris Agreement and threatening withdrawing and weakening the functioning of the World Trade, of the World Health Organization, and so on. Not least, of course, his latest tariff war against the whole world, not only against adversaries like of China, his main existential threat, but also allies and friends, and even targeting some island in Antarctica inhabited but only by penguins. So you can see that, and of course, that the not so much in the news is his lapping huge levies on shipping. On Chinese-made ships, each ship is required to come up with a levy of something like $1 million per visit. And then not too far away down the line is a much talked after behind the scene of the so-called Mar-a-Lago Accord, introducing a 100-year bond, non-interest paying US treasuries, with the will to cutting down Americans' huge budget deficit in terms of interest payments. Now, of course, the world order is also characterized by the humanitarian disasters in Gaza, in Syria, with the regional players like Turkey and Israel trying to take advantage of the situation, with the United States not able to do anything, but rather seeing itself benefiting from the situation, and continuing to support Israel as the American body politics intertwined with the Jewish lobby. Again, China, of course, rattles the global order. For example, even the United States, more people are seeing the influence of China rising. Its rare earth dominance is now threatening the United States, but also some of its Western allies. And the rise of the artificial intelligence in China, the DeepSeek, and the recent study by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, finding that out of the world's leading 41 technologies, which define the third and the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution, China is leading in as many as 37 technologies. And then, of course, China's building its own space station rather from scratch, in spite of the fact it was excluded from the American space station right from the very start. Then the recent attempt to decouple from China, forcing allies, but also China's trading partners to decouple from China, is likely to be a pipe dream, because China is embedded in the world's the vast majority of the world's products. Even if the products are not marked made in China, China's embedded in it in terms of rare earths, in terms of components, and in terms of logistics, because the world's top 7 out of the top 11 container ports are in China. And then, of course, the whatever happens over Ukraine is likely to result in a temporary peace, freezing the Russians' occupation of Ukrainian territory, and then using the kind of North Korean formula. In other words, weakening the international convention of respecting a country's sovereignty. And of course, the Middle East is transforming. A historical rapprochement between Iran and Saudi Arabia has been brokered by China, and President Trump has just bombed Iran's nuclear facilities with dubious results, according to many observers. And of course, over the Gaza Strip, Israel is still continuing the expansion, not to mention the end of the age of oil, as Middle East countries are pivoting towards new technologies and so on. So you can see that there are so many paradigm shifts in the world, the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, the age of artificial intelligence, the age of
Dr. Leung, uh, maybe you are facing some problem with the connection. I asked the other panelists, the audience online, if they are listening properly well, or they are perceiving some noise, some disrupted connection.
Yeah, I can hear some problems.
The same. I also heard some disruption now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the same here also.
Yeah, same.
Sorry,
No, nothing. I can't hear him.
Dr. Leung, it seems that you have some connection problems.
Really?
Yeah, now it's better. Now it's better. Yeah.
Well, can you see it?
Now it's
can you see
okay.
the visual?
It's okay. Resume the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm a little scared. So you can see the existing global institutions are not really fit for purpose. For example, the United Nations can't do anything about stopping all this turmoil. I've got to rush a bit, bigger for the loss of time. And what happened, for example, in the so-called the 40 years of peace achieved over the Congress of Vienna could be an example. And that implies a kind of accord of some of the world's leading powers so that they can agree on a modus operandi. So perhaps a more inclusive concert of powers is required for the 21st century. But then the most important mechanism is the United Nations Security Council. But the United States Security Council at the moment is degenerated into a talk shop with the five powers just guarding their own interests. Anything else that they would veto. Now, here are some of the suggestions. There are only 5 permanent members in the Security Council, but then they're formed after the Second World War, representing the winners of the Second World War. It doesn't reflect the distribution of power nowadays, especially the kind of balancing of the great power balancing after especially after the unipolar moment has passed. So the suggestion is that perhaps France could give up its position. I'll explain later on, because France is unlikely to agree, and give up its position, to the inclusion of the European Union as a voting as a veto power wielding member. The European Union. So the European Union already includes France. Now, why retain the UK? Not just because of the UK is in fact, the UK economy is smaller than France, but then the UK has the advantage of representing the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth is still very influential. So with the representation of UK in the new Security Council, you have at least the and so
Dr. Leung, once again, we have problems in
Yes.
your presentation. It's almost impossible to understand a single word, but we can look at the slides, of course. No, I'm sorry, Dr. Leung, but we are no more able to hear a single word from you. We see the slides, but we can't hear you.
really,
Okay, now you're back.
can you hear me now?
Now, yeah. Thank you.
Oh dear. I don't know what. Well, I'm towards the end. So I also propose another membership, which is non-voting member of the Security Council, but they're permanent members, but they do not have a veto power. So the permanent members with no veto powers would include the NATO, G20, the ASEAN countries, the South American United Association for South America, and also the BRICS, as well as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So these would be incorporated into the new Security Council, but without veto powers. So that again, that would represent a better the rest of the world. In addition, there should be a permanent committee to address the crisis, so that they can talk about it, and there should be high-level representation to be sent from the permanent members as well as the non-permanent members, and also the veto power voting members. And they would meet regularly. There should be a permanent secretariat within the United Nations. But basically that means that there will be regular meetings between various representations in the permanent secretariat to talk about rising prices before they come to a head. And that's what happening. The failing of the Security Council is because there is the existing power structure doesn't represent the current reality, and there is a lack of balance, and there is a lack of mechanism to address issues before they come to a head. So my proposal outlined above hopes to address this issue, but this is unlikely to happen at the drop of a hat. But these are only ideas for further consideration. So I will end my presentation. I hope that I'm sorry about this hiccup, technical hiccup. I don't understand why.
Well done.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Leung. You are familiar with this conference, so it's not the first time you're here. So it's always a pleasure to hear your remarks, your papers. Thank you very much. Thank you also for having cut and contained your very long presentation, because we know that in 30, you deserve so much time in preparing your presentation. That actually deserve much more time, but we will see at the end of all the presentations in the Q&A time if there will be more time for deepening your paper, your topic. So thank you very much once again, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Rasha El Baz from New Giza University. It sounds like an Egyptian university, isn't it, Giza? Yeah, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So welcome, Rasha.
Yes.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to host you, albeit virtually, but we hope one day or maybe next edition to see all of you in presence. I don't know where it will be hold the next edition, maybe in Lisbon or maybe back in Venice, but
I think,
we hope.
Marco,
Inshallah.
I think we met last year. We met at Foscari University at
Right.
Venice.
Right.
Yes, I was there with my husband. Yes.
Right. No, I remember.
Thank you.
I remember. Right.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you, Rasha. Thank you very much. This year for this
Thank you
edition
so
is
much.
12th. Next one will be the 13th. So that
Thank
this called, I call it the lucky edition. So 13th edition. So
Okay.
Rasha,
Maybe next time we can host يعني سجران at New Giza University.
yeah, if you have some
Maybe we will work.
please feel free to reach us with the proposal, with the contact, and we will deepen it along the next weeks. So thank you very much for your availability, Rasha. So Rasha will present a paper titled Great Power Rivalry in South Asia, the role of the United States and China in the Indian-Pakistan
Yes.
conflict. That is something very, very relevant and timely, of course. So the floor is yours. You have about 12 something more minutes, okay? So do you have a presentation? You can share the presentation if you have it. Okay, the floor is yours.
It's not in the final version yet, but I will just keep on time. First of all, hello everyone. I'm Rasha El Baz. My field of specialization is security studies, especially in Asia. As Andrew mentioned, my paper will be about great power rivalry in South Asia, role of United States and China in the Indian-Pakistani conflict. The research started with an overview of the Indian-Pakistani conflict as a regional issue, which start to merge again in actions, and also emergence of United States-China as a global phenomenon. The main thesis statement how the competition between United States and China affect or manage the India-Pakistani conflict. So after that, we will go through a historical context of Indian-Pakistani conflict since 1947, then major wars 1947, 48, 1965, 71, 1993, and it's about core disputes, Kashmir terrorism, water, and so on. So regarding United States interests and role in South Asia, historical alliance between United States and Pakistan during Cold War, recent US-India strategic partnership. Also, the main objectives, or we can see initiative of Indo-Pacific strategy. Also, China interests and role in South Asia. As we know, China, Pakistan, all with a friendship. Also, China have economic interests, regional influence, continent of India. Also, for China, military and diplomatic support to Pakistan. So we will see discussing US-China rivalry, global and regional dimensions. Competition, trade, technology, military affects this competition between United States and between China as well. So competing visions for the region. Regarding Kashmir issue, the United States and China engage on Kashmir. We have resolutions, as you know, from United Nations. Also, bilateral diplomacy play an important role in the conflict. Also, the impact of their rivalry on the disputes. Also, we cannot neglect the nuclear dynamics. As we can see here in the Middle East, we have regarding nuclear dynamics between Israel and Iran. I think all of you may see this war. So nuclear capabilities of India and Pakistan also considered as a main component in rivalry between the United States and China. Also, India and Pakistan response and mediation effort by United States and China. The study also work on a main question about does the United States-China competition fuel tensions, arms sales, diplomatic backing, or does it create opportunities for stability, crisis management mechanism, and the impact of their competition on regional stability and peace prospects. Also السيناريوز intensive يعني intensive rivalry or a cooperation, impact on Indian Pakistani relations on South Asia stability. So regarding, I just want to concentrate on it will be some statistics regarding China strategic calculations or core objective to secure investment with Pakistan, which reach 62 billion in Pakistan, contain Indian influence string of previous strategy, access India ocean trade routes. Also military aid to Pakistan, GF-17 fighters, warships, and so on. So also regarding Kashmir crisis, the US called for bilateral resolution. So how each part in this competition or in this conflict sees a rivalry between United States and China, whether India or Pakistan. Also economic side or economic phase of the competition play an important role determining the relations between the four parts, United States, China, India, and Pakistan. So the main key findings or also military dynamics, arms sale escalate regional risks, as we mentioned, economic leverage between China and US trade ties with India, diplomatic maneuvers, UN veto pattern crisis mediation differences, nuclear implication, how great power rivalry affect deterrence stability. So some regarding some results as it should remain neutral, India and Pakistan and United States and China. Just a minute. Yes, as regional US-China competition solidify binary alignments, India deepen strategic reliance on US defense-backed technology sharing, Pakistan double down on China as a balancer, keeping investment, military hardware, diplomatic cover at UN. The outcome of this one is reduced flexibility of India-Pakistan bilateral dialogue as each leverages external pattern. Second one, escalation of military tension, arms race, sales to India, as we mentioned before, plus the nuclear bolstering. Economic economy between the US and India, a trade of 120 billion in 1923, technology partnerships with Pakistan, aid suspensions, 300 million in 2018. China targeted sanctions in 2020, technology bans. Quebec investment with Pakistan, يعني 62 billion debt relief. Also proxy conflict dynamics, US-China rivalry and constraints on regional stability. Great power seeks stability, but enable instability through arms flows and alliance. As a common, I just want to mention as a common part of this paper and another one published discussing the role of United States in different conflicts in the world, like its interference in the Middle East conflict, and if this interference will affect the United States. I will not mention its position, or it will affect United States in the world, or takes from their economy, as you know, here in the Middle East or the MENA region as well. So this is yes, this is a final part. Okay, just a minute. So both have political and internal fragmentation leading to the creation of a nation state. Both have made a struggle for independence, integrity, sovereignty, while achieving such goals, which United States and China should respect. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Rasha, for having contained your presentation in the time limit. I'm so happy that you are becoming familiar to us after the presentation last year. Actually, it's always around that topic because last year was on Japan's foreign policy. And
Yes.
towards the US and China. So it was that panel that was chaired by Sandro Tabatazze from Georgia State University, who actually I met also today because they are here in person. So we hope to see you in person for the next edition because it's nice that so many people are becoming familiar with this conference that is well established. So it's a pleasure to host you.
Thank you
Albeit
so much.
online,
I'm planning to attend this year, but I just gave birth 2 months ago. So
it happens. Don't worry. Don't worry. You will
so
receive information in proper time. And please feel free to reach us with a proposal, with a manifestation of availability for having a discussion about the opportunity of hosting an edition at the new
cool.
Giza University. So thanks very much once
Thank
again.
you so much.
Great your husband on my behalf. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Rasha. And now we pass to the next, that is actually the fourth presentation by Manashi Parashar from Assam Don Bosco University. That it looks like a Catholic university, maybe, yeah, from
It
Don
is.
Bosco. Yeah, it is, yeah. So thanks very much, Manashi. Manashi will present a paper titled India in a Changing Global Order, Geopolitical Challenges and Strategic Interests in the Indo-Myanmar Borderlands. So this is actually also, like all these presentations, a very topic, a very timely topic, sorry. And I'm curious to hear about, because this is a presentation that it's connected to the presentation given by Dr. Leung, because it's something about the one of the numerous many proposals about the reform of the United UN Security Council, for which India is in pole position, is in line, waiting for hoping for occupying a chair, a permanent chair in a reformed UN Security Council. And for sure, India, we know that is a rising power, not still a global power, but a rising power. And India has a relevant role also in the furniture of of chips, so microchips, that are very important. Yesterday, we hosted a panel in which we have learned. We have heard two presentations, one from India, from an India fellow, another one from Taiwan. There were about chips, semiconductors. So India is a very relevant in this way, not only on this point of view, a very relevant role. So, but now to make it brief, so Manashi, the floor is yours. Take your about 12 minutes, for your presentation, and please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Manashi Parashar, and I'm from India. So I will be sharing my PPT. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, Manashi. Yeah.
All right. So my topic is India in a changing global order, geopolitical challenges and strategic interest in the Indo-Myanmar borderlands. So to introduce myself, I come from India's northeastern state of Assam. It is very lesser known, but thanks to the current government that we are getting recognition. So my today's agenda is first I'll introduce the topic, then there is a theoretical background, there will be discussion, strategic implications, geopolitical challenges, then there will be final takeaways, and I will conclude my topic. I will stick to the time limit given to me by the chair. So this, as you can see, this is India's northeastern region. We have 8 states actually, but Myanmar shares borders with Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh. Out of these, Nagaland, Manipur has got problems of insurgency. So there are security challenges, there are geopolitical challenges. And I am also pursuing my PhD, and my topic is on Indo-Myanmar borderlands. So I have visited this region as well, especially Nagaland, because Nagaland is prone with insurgency. There is a lot of underdevelopment. So to introduce the topic, this border region has long remained a very marginal area in both Indian and global strategic consciousness. So if you see Northeast India remained isolated from the mainstream national narrative, even during the British colonial period. So this region is actually a culturally very diverse region. There are ethnic communities, and it is very interesting to know that a lot of tribal communities from the Northeast region also have, ethnic alliances with Myanmar. So they are from the same ethnic groups actually. So they have a, historical linkage as well. They have an ethnic connection as well. So they have familial ties as well. Even their rituals and everything are quite similar. So the government of India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, has given its due recognition to Northeast India after a very long time. And it is a strategic bridge to Southeast Asia, but also as a key player in regional development initiatives like the Kaladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project and the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway Project. So these projects are very important for India as well as Myanmar. As we all know that Myanmar has been going through a military coup since 2021. So they have ethnic insurgencies, they have extreme poverty, there is a lot of underdevelopment in Myanmar. So India has been a good ally, and India wants to have a very strong link with, Myanmar, even Thailand, with the entire Southeast Asia. So considering India's position also, Myanmar plays a very vital corridor to strengthen its diplomatic, economic, and political engagements so that we can, mutually benefit as well. And there can be some recognition or some, development that can happen in our northeastern region. The theoretical background that I have studied is a realist geopolitical framework which views states as rational actors navigating a competitive international system to maximize security and power. So I have taken Indo-Myanmar borderlands, which is, situated at the intersection of these competing national interests. And they follow this realist logic because, as you can see, that definitely there is a lot of, ethnic connection and everything. So the Northeast feels a lot more connected to Myanmar. But having said that, there is a presence of China in Myanmar, which is actually strategically, affecting us. So we have to see that because there is a lot of, external forces like China's presence in Myanmar, we have to be careful that ways because we don't want those insurgencies in Myanmar and insurgents in India working together against the Indian state. So these strategic responses from Indian side. So what we can do from our side, or we are actually doing, is we are looking at the infrastructure development. We are addressing the military position in the region so that we can, work together. So that is why we are working on these various projects like the Kaladan Multimodal Project and the India-Myanmar-Thailand Highway. And the 70% of the work has been done, but the work has discontinued now because of, the military coup that has started in Myanmar. So, coming to the discussion and strategic implications, Indo-Myanmar borderlands is a reflection of shifting strategic discourses and competing logics of state territoriality, geopolitical realism, and lived realities of the borderland communities. You see, like the whole entire India may be developing, the cities are developing, we have every infrastructure. But what about the borderland communities? What about the border villages? Are they getting the due recognition? Are they still suffering in poverty, or are they also getting recognition from the government so that even they can develop economically as well as socially, culturally? So that is why as part of the Act East policy by our government, we are focusing on these projects so that the border communities can also be benefited, because there are so many border villages. There are around 300 border villages, and most of them are in abject poverty. So India's engagement with Myanmar from a realist perspective is driven by national security, definitely, because national security we have to focus, because it's very important that we do not get affected by these insurgents fighting the Indian state, because these are our own people. We cannot do anything against our own peoples. And why are they going haywire? Because there is a lot of underdevelopment, there's a lot of poverty, and they get funded by some external powers as well. So our strategic imperative is to counter China's growing footprint in Myanmar with the help of military cooperation, infrastructure movements. As I just mentioned, these projects will definitely benefit these communities. So in this Indo-Myanmar borderlands, the state interests override the complexities of local social fabrics in a broader geopolitical context. Again, the more strategic implications, if I have to mention that Myanmar is geographically situated at the crossroads of South and Southeast Asia. And that's why they have a leverage to enhance its regional connectivity and expand trade links with key nations like China, India, and the ASEAN states. So these projects like Kaladan and the Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway, these are envisioned so that there can be the markets can be integrated, there can be international trade, and Myanmar can be benefited, Thailand can be benefited. So we also have economic links with Myanmar, and we are also now focusing on agriculture, on textiles, on energy. Like how can we foster interdependence between these two countries? So as I just mentioned, that there are a lot of geopolitical challenges. As you can see in this map, these are the various insurgent organizations working in different parts of Myanmar. They're actively working. In fact, India's like Nagaland has got this insurgent organization, NSCN, which is also being given a place in Myanmar. So they have their camps set up where they're working, and they're all being funded by external powers. So Myanmar's domestic security landscape, which is marked by long-standing insurgencies in the border regions, which are actively working with the insurgents from Northeast. So they definitely pose a security challenge for us. And there are historical and ideological linkages, as I just mentioned before, which are operating with Myanmar insurgents, because you have an ethnic linkage, right? You feel connected with them. So since there are families, and since the border was demarcated during the time of independence, so some families remain on the side of Myanmar and some families remain on the side of India. So they share more of their, alliances with Myanmar actually. So there has to be collaborative security measures, coordinated military operations, and intelligence exchanges, which is very important in that region, because this is a very critical region. So stability in this region is thus not only critical for Myanmar's national cohesion, but also essential to advance its broader economic and strategic objectives. So my final takeaways are these projects definitely will be beneficial for India as well as Myanmar in connectivity and trade. And beyond principal transport corridor, we are also working on developmental programs in Myanmar's Rakhine state and enhancement of road infrastructure linking Kaleva to Aizawl, it's in India, eventually connecting with the Aizawl-Guwahati National Highway. So there will be these projects which India is focusing on as a diplomatic measure, as a military cooperation. These development programs will definitely benefit the northeastern part of India, which has been neglected for centuries. The due recognition is definitely needed. It's really important that these border communities need that attention. They should be uplifted from poverty, because India will become truly developed only when all the people developed equally. It's not only a certain section of the population which is developing. We need an equitable distribution of resources for everyone. So I would like to conclude my presentation here by just saying that we should see Myanmar's instability as a key driver of cross-border threats. So there has been cross-border linkages of these insurgents, which are trafficking a lot of arms, ammunition, as well as narcotics as well. So it's very important that India adopts very important, border governance mechanisms to address the national security, but again, with a humanitarian touch, because that is very important. You have to understand Northeast from a Northeastern perspective. You have to understand from a humanitarian perspective. Unless and until you understand the cultural, connections and the historical side of the Northeast, it's different from the mainstream India. So that humanitarian touch is very important. And again, China's deepening political and economic footprint, which is growing in Myanmar, that definitely poses a serious security dilemma for India. So India should take a very nuanced diplomatic approach that safeguards India's regional aspirations without alienating Nepido. So I should and conclude by saying that the border communities which are marginalized, they need attention. They need to be benefited from these development outcomes like these Kaladan projects and everything. So with this, thank you so much. Namaste.
Obrigado. Thank you very much, Manashi, and thank you very much. Your presentation was perfect in length, actually, and very interesting in topic. And I would have liked to hear something about what's going on in Myanmar, about the so-called Rohingya ethnic cleansing that is termed by someone as a genocide and so on, but maybe in the Q&A time we will have, because I was there. I was in 2018. I was in Bangladesh. I visited the border with Myanmar, so I saw there is 1 million of people not internally displaced, but externally displaced from their home country, and that is Myanmar. This 1 million people, and nobody is talking about this issue. So thank you very much. There are a lot of troubles all over the world, of course. So thank you, Manashi. And now it's my pleasure to give the floor to another familiar face, a face that became familiar from like Rasha from and Dr. Leung from last year's, the previous edition of the conference that we held in Lisbon. So Pedro Silva Baptista, that I was lucky to meet also a couple of months ago, maybe I think in February, here in Lisbon, where I am right now for the conference. And I thought that you would show up here in Lisbon for the presentation in person, for participating in person. So hopefully next edition, maybe there will be
Yes.
an opportunity, for spending some times together, because what is important in a conference is sharing the thought and spending some times outside the panels with the fellows, with the colleagues, and so on, in order to exchange ideas, making some brainstorming, and so on, cultivate ideas, and also to establish relationships, long-lasting relationships. So this is my, just to close before passing the floor to Pedro, this is my sixth edition of the CESRAN conference, sixth edition. So I see so many faces and people who became familiar to me and with whom I established a long-lasting cooperation and also a friendship. So it's important. This is my advice, to strive yourself to participate, whether it's feasible, it's possible according to your financial and time constraints and so on, to participate in person. So, Pedro, welcome once again, albeit virtually, to the CESRAN conference, and Pedro will present a paper titled "The Rise of Africa, a Marshall Plan for Progress in Education." Of course, a very, very relevant topic, education, not only in Africa, all over the world, and also here in Europe, because there are always budget constraints that limit the investments in education, which is actually very relevant for the future of every nation. So, Pedro, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me in my presentation?
Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah, you can start.
So, once again, thank you. My name is Pedro Silva Baptista. I am naturally from Cape Verde, but I am also Portuguese. So I am a collaborative member of the Research Center in Political Science at the University of Minho, and 2 years ago I was a Young African Leader Fellow at the European University Institute. So before diving into my main arguments, I would like to set the stage with Africa's geopolitical importance and development imperatives. We have nowadays a continent which is attracting global and regional powers, and this carries the risk of external agendas overriding long-term African interests. And then we have literature review revealing that education is crucial for mitigating these risks and promoting sustainable economic development. On the other hand, we have recent crises such as COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, all highlighting the urgent need for an education-focused development strategy, both capable of strengthening local production and research capacity. For example, in the agriculture sector, this sector is employing 60% of young workers in sub-Saharan Africa, which will be my main focus in terms of region. And according to the International Labour Organization, education is also crucial for agriculture innovation. So the key point and the key message is that the geopolitical dynamics in recent crises demonstrate education pivotal role in fostering sustainable development and resilience across essential sectors such as education itself, healthcare, food security, and so on. Now, in terms of methodology, so this presentation is coming out of a policy analysis that I have published to the European University Institute School of Transnational Governance. So the paper utilizes empirical data to explore how aligning education with labor market needs and local realities can unlock Africa's demographic dividend. So it combines quantitative indicators with policy analysis. So I use also a multi-sectoral strategy grounded in the triple helix model, meaning collaboration between academia, industry, and government, also to explore this analysis. And drawing on a 2023 United Nations brief, so my analysis highlights how the interplay of education, the interplay of and between education, demography, and youth empowerment shapes development in the continent. So in terms of the state of development in Africa, I would like to point out that we have persistent deficits. For example, inequality adjusted education index score was very low in 2022 on a score of 0 to 1. For example, internal factors such as political inequality compound these challenges, and according to human rights, this kind of perpetuate a cycle of underdevelopment. And also, according to IMF, 2.5% of annual GDP is lost to political instability in the region, which is quite impressive and hinders progress towards SDGs. And then we have poverty rising to 462 million, meaning that population growth is really outpacing poverty. But before, in 2019, already 35% of the population already lived below the $2.15 per day poverty line, and representing 60% of the world's extreme poor. So on top of this, we have unfavorable international lending practices costing Africa more than $60 billion annually, and illicit financial flows costing almost $90 billion a year. So my main argument is about the education crisis in the continent and the need for change. And why do I argue this? So we are facing a double burden. On the one hand, we have 90% learning poverty, meaning that 9 in 10 cannot read a single passage and understand it, which is impressive. And then we have over 100 million out-of-school children in the region. And according to the World Bank, illness, malnutrition, income deprivation are key factors. And on top of this, we have 35% of children dropping out of the primary school due to economic pressures, early marriage, and poor school facilities. And now I would like also to point out the case of Cape Verde. So we have a country, a Lusophone nation with one of the highest human development index. So according to our former education minister, even a teenager concluding 6th grade, so even for them, functional literacy is not guaranteed, which is quite impressive. Then we have UNESCO stating that Sub-Saharan Africa alone needs 15 million additional teachers by 2030 to meet SDG 4. So the key point is that there is an urgent need to elevate core learning competencies, reading, writing, basic math, logical reasoning, critical thinking, social awareness, while there is a severe shortage of qualified instruction. So education as the engine of transformation. So literature review reveals that strategic investment in education fosters knowledge, develops human capital, and fuels innovation. And then we have, for example, a policy paper from the World Bank underscoring its importance and strong correlations between education, improved employment, and health and earnings as well. Then we have the African Development Bank stating that this leads to better outcomes, not only for individuals, but also for communities. But for example, in terms of earnings, so there is a study showing that each additional year of schooling in Sub-Saharan Africa increases individual earnings by an average of 12%, but then for women is almost 15%, which is quite impressive. But in contrary, we have World Bank stating that economic growth at the current pace alone has not significantly reduced poverty or generated sufficient employment. So the key message or the key point is that we need effective leadership and education policies that equip individuals with in-demand skills for emerging sectors such as renewable energy. And now I will focus a bit on energy transition, job creation, and education. So, for example, there is Outlook Africa Energy Outlook 2022, which was published by the International Energy Agency, stating that we have 60% of the world's best solar resources. In contrast, we have 43% of the population still lacking access to electricity, and most of them are living in the rural areas. This outlook also created a sustainable Africa scenario projecting 4 million new energy-related jobs by 2030. But of course, you need qualification. But for me, The most important data about this issue is related with a report by International Renewable Energy Agency in collaboration with African Development Bank, stating that a shift to modern renewable energy could increase GDP by 6.4%, but most importantly, improve the welfare index by 25%. So the key point in here is that, of course, access to affordable and reliable energy is key for livelihoods, public services such as healthcare, education itself, agriculture, productivity, food security, industrial development, and crisis resilience. And that is why I use the framework, the interplay, because it's almost interconnected among sectors. And this is even more important in a continent where 33 of the world's 47 least developed countries are, which is Africa, unfortunately. Now, in terms of population growth, development, and demographic dividend, I will be brief. So we have 42% of the world's, we will have 42% of the world's young people by 2030. It is projected to rise to 1 billion by 2055. But by 2050, in the middle of the century, according to African Development Bank, we will have potentially almost 2 billion working age individuals, which is quite impressive. So we really need to speed up the education and the qualification. So then we have this huge bulge as a significant opportunity and a pressing challenges. And also I would like to share with you this report by the World Bank stating that current patterns generate only 3 million formal jobs and leading to what they have called jobless growth, which is important. So apart from this, we have enrollment in engineering, natural science, mathematics, statistics, plus ICT remaining very low, 10% and 5% respectively. And then we have future of job reports by the World Economic Forum, showing and demonstrating that by 2030, we will need an additional 23 million STEM graduates in these fields. So the key point is that improving job prospects for youth and equipping them with relevant skills is essential, and realizing this potential depends on strategic investments in quality education. Bridging these gaps requires aligning education with market needs, investing in quality education, again, at all levels, and promoting lifelong learning. So my main argument and proposal is that Africa requires a pan-African education movement. And why is that? For example, according to the Second Continental Report on the Implementation of Agenda 2063.
Right. Sorry, Pedro. Try to go quickly to conclusions. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. So, I argue for an African Marshall Plan with the scope, ambition, and scale of the Marshall Plan, and I will. So this movement should have 3 pillars: government, private sector, because public-private partnership in Africa is mainly focused on infrastructure, and there is an opportunity to improve it to education as well. Diaspora, for example, ladies and gentlemen, we had diaspora sending over $100 billion in remittance to Africa, so they can be a source of skills, expertise, and so on. So. Again, very briefly, African Union has 2 main documents which articulates the vision for education. One is United African Union Concept on Education, 2022. This is quite impressive because it marks the first time education has been the African Union's theme of the year, reflecting what some scholars have described as an historical marginalization of education in main African policy focus. So before concluding, we have now momentum G20 membership, South Africa with the presidency of G20, but success hinges on reconciling national agendas with collective aims, which underscores the need for a Pan-African education perspective, and education is key in this process. So briefly, the role of international partnerships. So the scale of required reform necessitates collaborative international partnerships, and in this, the Union can play a huge role. Back in very briefly to my point of why it's crucial education to be reimagined. And lessons from the Marshall Plan. So after the World War II, Europe faced devastation. This is clear. My point is that while Africa differs in terms of challenges, they are no less daunting. So we have 45 million people displaced by conflict, almost 800 lacking basic sanitation, over 400 million, 800 million lacking basic sanitation, over 400 million without safe drinking water, over 900 million without clean cooking fuels. So we really need to embrace this kind of ambition as a strategic necessity, and really expanding access to foundational literacy. So to conclude, the immense potential of Africa remains unrealized due to fragmented leadership and the lack of unity and visions in terms of education, which calls for, in my view, a large-scale data-driven continental education movement grounded on scientific principles. So, and ordinary citizens play a big role because they can be agents of change if equipped with political literacy and critical thinking skills, making it imperative to reverse engineering the process of citizenship, in telling this idea of, okay, rights, but also, some role with the society. And then the point is that transforming the foundation of political culture pyramid requires a long-term program spanning decades, primarily centered on education. And according to my study, to conclude, so a Pan-African education movement built on equity, access, culturally relevant curricula, more suitable with African realities, sustainable funding is crucial, as education is really the pathway to prosperity, global agency, and a positive impact on Africa. Sorry for taking so long. So this was my brief
Don't worry,
presentation.
don't worry, Pedro. Thank you very much. We all know how much relevant is education, and not only in Africa, but all over the world. And we are aware, but it's not. It's good to remember us, but it should be remembered to politicians when
Yes.
when they decide to increase the spending for weapons, for arms or defense, as it's called in the national expenditure, instead of investing in education and health
Yes.
services. So thank you very much. On my personal, from myself also, once again, thank you for the suggestion, the tips that you gave me for my trip to Cape Verde, where I will go lecturing at the University of Cape Verde. I've postponed my lectures due to my full agenda, but I will go there in autumn lecturing there. This is an agreement between Foscari University and Cape Verde University that I proposed, and was fully funded by the Italian National Agency for Erasmus Plus under the Erasmus Plus European Union framework. That is that, just to say that we know how much relevant it is, because my choice was towards an agreement with an African country, this Cape Verde, and I'm very happy that this agreement, this proposal was successful. It was funded 100%. So a bigger effort should be done by everybody, all the institutions, the governments, and universities, and each of us. So thank you very much for your contribution, Pedro. I hope to see you, to meet you in person next edition, or someone somewhere, I don't know. So thank you very much once again. Now,
if you need anything, meanwhile, you arrive.
thank you, thank you, thank you. We are already in contact. That's I told you before that it's a good thing of these conferences and so on, that you establish relations beyond the conference itself. That is very good. So thank you very much. I'm so happy that you are here also for this edition, albeit as I told you before, virtually. So now, last but not least, of course, that is mandatory phrase, is Asha Quasi from Air University. And we will listen to a presentation, to a paper titled Violation of International Law and the Illegitimacy of Global Governance. This it's very, I mean, it's very interesting. It's tricky, the title, so I'm very curious, because I mean, it's somehow is my area of research, and do not leave. I mean, I'm talking to all you panelists. Don't leave. Stay with us until the end. Still 10 minutes, 12 minutes, because we have some a brief communication about you all at the end, a useful communication at the end of this panel. So, Afsha, can you hear me? Afsha, I see that you are there. Afsha Quasi? Afsha Quasi, are you with us? Is with us here. I mean, it appeared we exchanged some words at the beginning of the panel, before the beginning of the panel, but it seems that still online, apparently. But Afsha, okay, so I take advantage from this silence, just to say, to give you this information. That is, firstly, you will not receive a physical certificate of participation. Why? Because you're not participating on site, but you will receive the digital certificate that will be delivered in the next days. So please do not bother, do not bomb the organization CESRAN with requests of certificates, because you will receive everybody will receive his or her personal certificate in digital format via email in the following days. So first communication. Second one, and the last one, is that maybe you are aware of this, that you have the opportunity for submitting and publishing the full paper. Of course, it will go under a double blind peer review. If you decide to submit for publication the full paper that you presented here at the conference. So you have two opportunities for publishing. One is with the rest, that is the flagship journal of CESRAN, and the journal is available in open access. That is very good, because it supports the dissemination of your research. It's much better than other kind of publications. So the rest, and the second opportunity is with Janus, that is the flagship journal of Observatory on Foreign Policy. That is the observatory and the flagship journal of the Autonomous University of Lisbon, that is hosting this edition like previous ones. So keep it in mind, please. You have this opportunity that is not only for a short time, but you can submit your manuscript for publication also in the next months. So it's over with the communications, service communications, just to say. So I still try to reach out to Asha Quasi. Asha, are you there? Can you hear me? Asha Quasi? Air University, maybe Afsha is in the air, maybe Air University. So I'm so sorry that Afsha is not able to. I don't know what happened because was connected before, was with us, but disappeared, but it's still there. Do you have some suggestion? You guys from this panel, do you have some suggestions to try to wake up or to reach Afsha somehow? I don't know. You don't know Afsha? Nobody knows Afsha. Yeah.
I don't know, perhaps you could send her an email, or I don't know.
An email, it will take time to get a reply from the email. So we are really short of time because it's 5:30. So our time it's over, unfortunately. It's my fault because I took much time between in presenting the papers, in commenting, and between and in greeting you because it's a real pleasure to me to having had the opportunity for moderating, chairing this third panel in this conference that I told you before is my sixth conference. So, and I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to see once again virtually these faces that I told you before, but I want to stress it once again that became familiar along the years, like Dr. Leung, once again for having joined us in one more CESRAN event. Thanks also to Rasha El Baz, second participation, first virtually, but inshallah next one in person. Yeah, hopefully.
So much, the pleasure is all mine.
Then thank you very much. Thank you to Manashi. First time that I see Manashi, but I hope not the last one, of course. Pedro is becoming also a very familiar face and a friend along the years. So thank you very much, Pedro, also for having joined us and having participated in one more edition of the Giza University. And Ashra, unfortunately, is here online, but is not interacting with us. So I'm very sorry because I don't know what happened. I hope nothing bad, but I'm obliged to close to declare this panel closed. So our time is over. So once again, thank you very much. You will receive the certificates. You know that you have the opportunity for submitting the full paper, and you find all the information in the call for papers and in the CESRAN conference website. So on my side, and on behalf of the organization, on behalf of CESRAN International and of the Autonomous University of Lisbon and Observare, the Observatory on Foreign Relations of the Autonomous University of Lisbon, and on behalf also of my university, Foscari University, who is an official, which is an official partner, university partner of also this edition of the conference. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry that Dr. Ploberger was not able due to technical issues to connection disruption to finish his presentation, but it was very interesting. We have the abstracts in the book of abstract that is available in digital format and in open access format. So thank you very much. For anything you need, please feel free to reach me and reach us out. Each time you need something like advice and suggestions and so on, connections also, because we are here also for making some networking, for establishing relations between the people, not only between research, but also the people, colleagues, fellows, and so on. So thank you very much, and see you next year, inshallah, hopefully.
It was great to see you.